Hello, this is Stephen Nichols. I'm the Director of Business Development for Mission Critical Systems, a SharePoint development company based in Denver, Colorado. I have a quick video today talking about SharePoint document management and all the features in SharePoint for collaborating around documents. There are two PowerPoint slides, and I'll dive right into the demonstration. If you want to jump ahead to the demonstration, it should be about 3 minutes in from this start point. So quickly, I just wanted to go through how document management is handled for companies that don't have document management systems. And that's usually done through a file share and nested folder structure like this one, where you have several folders within folders, and then the documents live somewhere in this pile of folders. You might have also the name of a naming convention, so the name of each document could be very important. In this case, the organization uses V1, V1.1, V1.2 to show different versions of the document as it's worked on and developed. And then also, of course, email. Email is a big part of how collaboration is done for organizations that don't have SharePoint, sending out emails to coworkers, hey, take a look at this new proposal. What do you think of that? And that's something that can make the number of emails you receive in a day go from just a few to several hundred if you have a very large organization at all. One of the examples I was talked through is, let's say I'm sending out my annual budget to all the department heads and saying, hey, please take a look at this and let me know if you have any changes, and we'll finalize this on Tuesday. So I send this email out, and you'll notice the budget is 2015 budget, and that's what I'm sending out. And then immediately, as soon as I hit the send button, I realize that I've made an error. So I send out V2. Sorry about that. Please use this version instead. And then someone calls me on the phone, and I make another quick little change to it and say, okay, here's V3. Use this one. Use this copy instead. And then I get two different emails from Julie and from Pat here with changes for their departments. And you'll notice that they use the V2 document, not the V3 document. So now I have 3.5 versions of the budget that I have to go through and combine into one copy, and that's usually a very lengthy and difficult process to do. So then I send out V4, hey, here are some more corrections to it. Please use this copy instead. And then someone else calls me on the phone, so I made some more changes to it, but you notice this time I forgot to change the name of it, so it's still V4, and I send that out to everybody. So now I'm 7 emails into this. Trying to get the budget finalized, not to mention having to do all the combining work of all those separate Excel documents that have been moved into one. But finally, it gets finalized, and we're happy with it. And then 3 or 4 months later, I send an email like this that says, I have 8 copies of the budget in my folder. Which one was the final version? Does anybody remember? And that happens pretty regularly. Now, SharePoint has some ways of managing collaboration and managing documents, and I'll dive into the demonstration now, and hopefully these are things that are going to relieve some of that stress. So if you're not familiar with SharePoint, SharePoint is an internet portal or intranet portal. It's just a website, and it can be very highly developed or very lightly developed. And this is just a demo site, so we've very lightly developed this one. I have an image here in the middle. I have a list of announcements on the side. Here are some common links that might be used, a list of departments, and then a big calendar for all the different events that are happening within the company. So if I go to the Human Resources page, or the page dedicated to all the information for human resources that faces externally to the rest of the users in the company, I have another calendar, I have a list of employees over here, and the HR documents, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time. So, an HR documents, this is the document library. A document library is a web part that stores documents within SharePoint. You can put the same document web part, the same document library on several different pages if you'd like, and that's just kind of the general structure of SharePoint, is that it's very flexible that way. Think of this as the top level of your nested folder structure. So it might be, at the SLICS level or the marketing level. Those might be separate document libraries. It really just depends on how you set the system up. Just in general, for interacting with it, I can add a new document by clicking on that button. I can upload documents over there. I can use the new folder to create folders if I would like to use those, and there's a good reason for not using those. And then there's a lot of other features here that we won't get into, but document libraries definitely are a key part of SharePoint, and they've really developed out what you can do with them. So the big difference that you see between the document library and a nested folder structure here is that you're going to have something called metadata. So metadata is also called columns and properties. Metadata, columns, and properties are the same thing. When you create a document in Microsoft Word, it always has metadata. some standard metadata like when was it modified, who was the person who modified it, what is the title of the document, what's the size of the document, and you can actually see that here in the folder, size, type of document, date, modified. Those are all standard metadata fields that show up whenever you create a document. SharePoint does something different though. It also gives you custom fields. So these are custom fields that I created for this document library, and other document libraries would have totally different custom fields. In this case, I have origin. Was this an internal or an external document? I have the editor, who's responsible for the document. The category, is it benefits, general, or healthcare? And I can go through and I can sort and filter just like it was an Excel spreadsheet too. So once I've done that, I can quickly take a very large document library that might have thousands of documents and narrow it down to a very small number just with a few clicks that way. And then, of course, the search button is always available up there too if I know what I'm looking for. So that's kind of a brief about document libraries. Now, document libraries also have other features, and I'll go into versioning now. If I click on the ellipsis and the second ellipsis, and then click on version history for the document, it's going to show me how it controls the different versions as this document is updated and changed. So you'll remember on the file share, I had V1, V1.1, V1.2, V2.0, and there was a naming convention was how I managed which version was the most current version. It's kind of similar, I guess, with SharePoint, except that it's all stacked on top of each other. So whenever someone clicks on the employee handbook, they're getting the most recent version. But if they need to go back and roll back and see a previous version, they can click on this and choose the restore or the view button to be able to see that. On the left-hand side here, you'll see the number, and I have 1.0, 1.1, 2.0, 2.1. The numbers change with each version. If the number on the left-hand side changed, it's a new major version. If the number on the right-hand side of the decimal point changed, it's a new minor version. Major and minor versions are an optional feature, but they're important, especially for things like employee handbooks. So let's say I have I've published a version 2.0 for the employee handbook, and that's available to all the employees in the company. But internally to the HR department, we need to be able to collaborate on the employee handbook and make further updates to it. It's going to go through several different minor versions. To show a minor version, the number on the right-hand side is going to get updated. But what I can do is I can make the document library only show major versions to people who have read-only access to the document library, but show minor versions to people who have read-write access to the document library. That way, anyone within HR who has read-write access can see all the minor updates and see the changes as they're being made. But people outside the HR department who have view-only access to these documents will only see the most recent major version of the document. I guess but the big feature with the version history tool is that there's no more issue of forgetting which version is the most recent version of the document, because if I need to open the document, the most recent version, I just click there and it opens up for me, and that's really all I have to worry about. So then a few other features on the ellipsis tool I'll go through. There's the link here. What the link does is it gives me a URL for the document, and then I can send that URL by email, or I can put it on a website or into another document or wherever you can paste the text. And then if someone follows that link, they'll be able to see a view only or an edit copy of the document, depending on how you set that up. I also have the share button there. What share button does, it replaces me having to email documents around. I can type in this field, the name of the person or the email address, or even a group name like legal department, whoever I want to share the document with, and then I can grant them temporary permission to edit or to view the document, and then hit the share button, and that person will receive a notification that they have been granted access to this document. So in the example of the employee handbook, maybe I need the legal department to review something I had said in there. So I can type legal department, or I can type Joe Smith or whoever the person is, and say that they can edit the document and share it to them, as opposed to sending an attachment. So the big benefit with sharing and sending a link in both these cases is going to be that instead of sending an attachment where people make the change to the local copy of the document and then email back their changes to you, they're actually making changes to the live copy on the server. And that way there's no conflicting versions, and everyone has the most up-to-date version of the document. So the biggest objection, of course, to this is what if two people have to edit the document at the same time? And Microsoft has two different ways of solving this issue. The first one is there's the checkout feature there. If I hit checkout, or if I enforce the use of checkout, then the first person who opens the document is able to make changes to it, but everyone after that person can only open up read-only copies of the document. So when they open up a read-only copy, they'll be notified that any changes they make to it won't be shared back on the saved back onto the SharePoint site, and that prevents version conflicts. But of course, it's useful, but it would be ideal if people could edit the same document at the same time. Wouldn't that be magic? But actually, that's absolutely possible. It's what's called co-authoring in SharePoint. Co-authoring is very difficult, of course, to demonstrate without setting that up. But with co-authoring, what you're able to do is have two or more people make changes to the same document at the same time. You'll actually see two different cursors working in Excel or Word or whatever you're using, and at the exact same time, and you're able to save those changes and see those changes live. See your coworkers change the document live. Now, of course, there's some nuance to exactly how that works, so please reach out to me if you'd like to see a demonstration of that. I'd be happy to go through all the details of that. So we have a browser-based document management system here that I've been showing you. Of course, mobile is a big push in our industry, as people need to have access to their documents on mobile devices. And Microsoft has built out several different apps for that. There's the OneDrive app and the Office mobile app, and both of those are going to give you access to a list of documents like this that I can click on, and I can open up the document and actually make changes to it, or just view, forward the document around, and just generally interact on. These are screenshots taken off of my Android phone, so it's agnostic in terms of which platform you're using. iOS is also fine. Here's a version of the light version of Excel that you can have. If you open up a document using your phone, and then down here at the bottom, this is called Excel Services. Excel Services, or it's actually not Excel Services. It's called Office Online. What Office Online is it's a light version of Microsoft Excel, of Microsoft Office. It's browser-based. You can use it on a tablet. You can use it just through a Chrome browser or whatever you're using for it. You don't need to have Microsoft Office installed on your local computer in order to use that light version of that. So that's also another key component of using mobile. Now, I use SharePoint every day. I share documents and save documents onto the SharePoint site every day, but I actually very rarely open up a SharePoint document library like this. So the way that I access these documents, first and foremost, is with this toolbar that I've created. I can click on this and show all the different folders in my SharePoint document library, and then choose the documents that I want to take a look at. So I click on this, I click there, and I choose the document and open it up. And that is actually accessing the same a document that's on the SharePoint site in the same way that I would access a document on the local hard drive of my computer. I can also hit the Windows key or choose the button over there and then type in whatever document I'm looking for, and if I spell properly, I'll get the documents, and I can click on that and open it. Those documents listed there are actually on a SharePoint site. So I'm actually searching the SharePoint site from within from within the Windows desktop. Also, you'll notice these buttons. These always have the most recent documents that you've opened up, and I can click on that, and it'll show these documents even though they're saved on a SharePoint site. Now, if I'm in Word or a PowerPoint or Excel or whatever I'm using, I can hit the File, I can hit Save As, and you'll see all these locations for OneDrive and for other web locations. These are actually SharePoint site locations, and I can save directly onto the SharePoint site from within Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint or whatever you're using. I can use the Open button, and I can open up the documents from the SharePoint site in a Microsoft Word or Excel or whatever I'm using for that. This is through just recent documents. These are my this is my kind of work site, and then I also have my OneDrive personal site connected as well. OneDrive is a big feature. It's a lot to talk through. One of the big features of it, though, is that you're able to save documents onto the hard drive of your computer and then go out and be on a flight or be away from Internet access and make changes to those documents. And when you connect again to the Internet and connect to the SharePoint site, it will update those changes onto the server. So OneDrive is a big topic to go through, but that's one of the features, and it's the way that I'm actually doing all of this interaction from within Microsoft Office. So that's, I guess, SharePoint document management features, and there's a lot to go through here that I'm not going to be able to get to everything. But if you have further questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about all the features in SharePoint. So please do reach out. My contact information is below there. Again, I'm Stephen Nichols. I'm from Mission Critical Systems, SharePoint development company here in Denver. And thank you very much for listening in on our video. Talk to you soon. Thanks.